Testing, everything good. Check the focus. Hey guys, welcome back to another video with Lim Reviews. So I haven't been reviewing a lot of smartphones of late because if you know, I'm actually based in China where I've reviewed a lot of Xiaomi, Redmi, even Realme, Oppo and Vivo devices, all those devices, Huawei, Honor as well. And there was like too many phones being released every 2 weeks. I know it's the virus season right now, so there's not much going on. But prior to that, it was really like new phones coming out each week, and I just didn't get interested if all the new phones coming out. But today, I'm actually rather excited to test out a smartphone that just came into my hands, and that is the Samsung A51. So the reason why I'm pretty excited about this phone is because first up, I'm going to be very honest, and that is that I've not used a Samsung device in a very long time. So this is going to be like my first Samsung in a couple of years actually. And this is like a budget device supposedly meant to compete in the mid-range segment, which is like crowded with all the brands that I just mentioned earlier on. So yeah, just very excited to test this out. So without further ado, just sit back, relax, and let's check out what this Galaxy A51 is all about. Got it. Today I have the Samsung A51 here with me, and let me just talk a little bit about what my thoughts are on this device coming from the perspective of an avid Chinese smartphone user. Let me just quickly talk about the things that I like about the Galaxy A51. So first up, as soon as I got my hands on this device, I immediately fell in love with the very slim profile. The design here is very good. I like the fact that the back has this really interesting texture on it. So it's not too flashy, but at the same time, it's not too bland as well. Moving on to the camera lens at the back, I noticed that there isn't a big bump on it. So especially when you put the device flat on your table, it wouldn't really wobble around. So I don't really tap while the phone is on the table, but I just don't really fancy huge bumps. Anyways, flipping the device to the front, we actually get a very nice display here. It is a large 6.5-inch display that actually looks a bit narrow. So this is not your typical kind of ratio you would expect. It is a bit tall and narrow, but honestly speaking, I pretty like it. The reason why I like it so much is because that due to the fact that it's so narrow, it's actually easier to grab in one hand, and I can actually hold the device very confidently, unlike some other thicker devices, or should I say wider devices that makes it a bit hard to hold. First thing you'll notice on the display is the tiny little dot at the top. So there is this little O at the top there. Overall, I think it just sits where it's supposed to be, and after using it for a while, it doesn't really bother me at all. So yeah, pretty okay. I guess it's good that it's not such a big one, but just a tiny O at the top. Moving on, let me talk a little bit about the display. So of course, we know that Samsung makes really good displays, and this is no exception here. The display is really good, and it gets very bright outdoors. It has these nice punchy colors, everything you would expect from a Samsung AMOLED display. I really enjoyed watching my YouTube videos on this device. It is especially good if you like use your phone to watch Netflix. The picture and the image is just so nice. You can of course set it to vivid or just standard if you don't like too much colors. But yeah, one thing I didn't notice here again was because that the display is so tall and narrow, you actually get a bit more of the black bars on the sides, and this is especially obvious if you use YouTube a lot. You would see the black bars at the top and bottom that are actually thicker than what you would usually see on your own smartphone. But yeah, once again, after a while, this really gets away. It doesn't really bother me too much. Alright, so let me just talk a little bit about performance here and how is it like to use the Galaxy A51. So the Samsung Galaxy A51 is powered by a Exynos 9611 processor that comes with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of internal memory. So note that you can actually expand this memory by putting in a micro SD card in the card slot above, and that will give you more memory to store more stuff in your phone. But in terms of just performance, let me just show you very quickly the benchmark scores that I got from this device. So let's just hit up Antutu right away, and we can see that the score got by the Galaxy A51 is as such. We have got 182,000, and if you just hit the rankings right there, you'll notice that it is actually similar to the other devices that sports the Snapdragon 710 or so. So that is the kind of performance you can expect, but once again, benchmark scores are just for you to use it as a reference. My real world experience with the Galaxy A51 is actually pretty smooth, everything launches pretty quickly. Social media apps run very smoothly. Of course, YouTube and all those apps will also run very well. I don't actually find myself facing any lags or delays using this smartphone. Obviously, it is not the quickest. Like, you can't expect it to be so instant with every touch that you input onto the device. For instance, when using the camera to take photos, it's not the quickest to take a photo, especially when saving the night shots. So performance-wise, I would say that it is smooth, but don't expect it to be like blazing fast. So in terms of gaming, I actually tried gaming a PUBG on this device, and I'm not a professional gamer. I do play a lot of Mobile Legends, but somehow I just didn't want to install it on this device to mess up my my records in my previous phone. But anyway, I tried out PUBG on this device and it really runs smoothly. Like, there was no obvious lags or delays or whatever. It just runs very smoothly, and the fact that we have a very flat display here instead of those curved edges makes it very easy to assess my controls. I was able to shoot pretty well, and of course I know I'm fighting against bots in this video right now, but yeah, I was able to kill a bot, so yeah, thumbs up for that, alright? So one thing I noticed about gaming is that the loading time might take a while, just a bit more longer than what you would expect if you're coming from a flagship device, but for a mid-range device, it is actually expected. So loading time may take a while, but I was able to set graphic settings to high in PUBG and actually enjoy the game pretty much. So yes, I'm still pretty happy with the gaming here. So moving on to another main, very important factor of the Galaxy A51, and that is the cameras that we have here. So obviously we have 4 cameras here, just like what you get on those Redmi or Realme or Xiaomi devices these days. It all comes with a tons of sensors on their devices, and it is no different here. So we get a 48 megapixel main sensor, a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and 2 more 5 megapixel cameras for your portrait modes as well as your macro shots. So I'm just going to focus on the main 2 sensors, which is the standard 48 megapixel sensor as well as the ultra wide sensor. So if you can see here, I took a lot of photos during the day and as well as night, and pictures taken during the day were really good. I mean, it comes out with a lot of very good clarity. First up, it also comes with great colors. Colors look very natural, and although it is a bit more saturated than what it actually is, I find that it is actually pretty okay, because this is the kind of photos you actually share on Instagram or social media, something that is a bit more colorful than what it actually is, just to make it look more interesting. Of course, the photos here are very editable as well. If you know me or if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I used to edit my photos like crazy, and I just turn everything like completely different from what it came out from the phone. So the shots coming out from this is very good for editing. So moving on to night shots, there's a good and bad point here. So the good thing is it is able to bring out a lot of light from a very dark situation. So I am currently in Singapore, and when I went to the airport, the Jewel, it was very late, almost like close to 12 a.m. midnight, and I was still able to take a couple of shots. Like, you can see there's lights coming out, you can roughly see what's going on and what's in the picture. I wouldn't say that it's as good as those night modes that you get from the flagship devices, but as a mid-range device, the night images coming out from the Galaxy A51 is actually pretty good, and I would say that it is almost as good as the other Xiaomi and Redmi phones that I have. Alright, so I've already shown you guys so many pictures here, and you can actually decide for yourself whether you like the image or not. Anyways, the last thing I want to talk about is the battery life. So the good news is there's a 15-watt charger that comes in the box, and that actually takes the device up to 35% in 30 minutes. So obviously that is not the quickest, but yeah, it is still better than having the slow charger. Apart from that, the battery life was able to last me like a full day on one charge. I think the screen on time was about like 5 hours. Yeah, so just take my word for it that the battery should last you a full day. It really depends on your personal use as well. If you're the kind of person who like games like really hardcore, and you game like 4 or 5 games in a row of PUBG maybe, for instance, of course you're going to face lesser battery life. But yeah, if you use it for your basic social media, browsing YouTube once in a while, having 1 or 2 rounds of games, definitely you will still have enough juice to last you the entire day. Alright guys, I think that's pretty much it for the Galaxy A51. So how does this compare to Chinese phones? For instance, the Realme devices, Xiaomi, and all those other Chinese mid-range smartphones that has been out in the market. Well, this is what I would say. So the Chinese smartphones in the market tend to be very similar to one another in terms of how the UI looks, as well as in terms of how the design of the device looks, how it feels, it all looks very similar. And that is also the reason why I stopped like doing phone reviews, because I just got kind of bored of it and it didn't really excite me anymore. But Samsung came along and actually introduced this A51, which I think is a pretty decent phone. It definitely gives me a different feel when I was using it. The phone is very slim. It comes in a very good build quality. Like when you hold the device, you actually feel that although it's made of plastic, you know that it feels good, you know. And of course, I also appreciate the very tall and narrow display, which I said earlier on was very good for me to hold the entire device with one hand, with a perfect grip, of course. Yeah, so the Galaxy A51 comes in at a price of 1,299 ringgit here in Malaysia. That's because I'm in Malaysia right now. But of course, the pricing will differ based on where you actually are in the world. So for the price, I actually think that the Galaxy A51 is a pretty affordable smartphone. I think that it gives you a lot of value for the device. You're getting updates. I'm sure you'll get more updates here on the Samsung devices as compared to maybe the Redmi or Xiaomi devices. I'm not saying that those devices won't get the updates, but in terms of Android version updates, I would say that Samsung is actually more reliable in pushing out these updates. So yeah, that is something to definitely look forward to. Alright guys, so what do you think? Is this something that you would consider over the Redmi or Xiaomi devices? Yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm not a hater of anything, by the way. I love all smartphones. But yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!